This constellation question asks you to draw an HR diagram and plot the stars in your constellation on it. The HR diagram is an important tool astronomers use to classify stars. The purpose of this assignment is to help you get familiar with the diagram and let you see how the stars in your constellation compare to others around us. It's important that you draw the diagram yourself. Don't just copy someone else's diagram. Whether you do the diagram by hand or create it on the computer, it needs to be your work. There are several key pieces of information that your HR diagram needs to have. First, the axes need to be there and they need to be labeled. The vertical axis gives the luminosity of the star, increasing as you go upwards. You'll see this listed in either absolute magnitudes or solar luminosities. The important thing to realize is that the sun's luminosity is usually given somewhere in the middle of the vertical axis, one solar luminosity, or an absolute magnitude of +5. The horizontal axis is a measure of the star's temperature. For historical reasons, the temperature gets smaller as you move to the right, opposite of what you might expect. We also give the spectral types on the horizontal scale. Remember that these are O, B, A, F, G, K, and M. You should include these spectral types on your diagram, since they will help you with plotting the stars. Now you need to start plotting the major types of stars. Begin with the main sequence, the band of stars that forms a wavy diagonal right across the middle of the diagram. Make sure that if you draw a line over from the one solar luminosity point, it hits the main sequence straight up from the G spectral type. Finally, remember to label the main sequence. Next, put in the giant and supergiant branches. The supergiants cover the entire top band of the diagram, while the giants are below them. Both are cooler than the main sequence stars. Finally, put in the white dwarf stars in a diagonal band below the main sequence. Remember to label all these groups of stars. Now let's plot some stars on the diagram. While there are several pieces of information on your constellation table that could help you figure out where the stars go, the easiest approach is to use the spectral luminosity class. There are 3 parts to the spectral luminosity class. The first part is a letter identifying which spectral class the star is in. This fits with the spectral classes on the horizontal axis of the HR diagram. The number after this lets you pin down the star's location more precisely within the spectral class. This number ranges from 0 to 9, with 0 being the hottest and 9 being the coolest. So a star that has a spectral class of A8 is close to the right-hand edge of the A stars, near the F stars, while an A0 star is at the left edge of the A's, very close to the B stars. The last part of the spectral luminosity class is the luminosity part. There are 5 major luminosity classes, which are labeled using Roman numerals which progress downward in the diagram. So Roman numeral 1 refers to supergiant stars, while Roman numeral 2 is bright giants on the high end of the giant branch. Roman numeral 3 is giants, and Roman numeral 4 is subgiants, which lie between the giant branch and the main sequence. Finally, Roman numeral 5 is main sequence stars. Note that white dwarf stars are labeled with WD instead of a Roman numeral. Let's look at an example of how we plot a star. We'll look at a star with a spectral type of B84. The B tells us that it's one of the hotter stars on the left-hand part of the diagram in the B spectral type. The 8 means that it's on the cool end of B stars. Finally, the 4 means it's a subgiant, just above the main sequence, but below the giant branch. You should go ahead and try plotting all of the stars in your constellation. Also, don't forget the Sun, which has a G25 spectral type. Remember to ask if you're getting stuck on any of this.